Hi everyone, it's Marianne and welcome to day 6 of 12 Days of Plantmas. Today we're gonna let the Pothos plants battle it out. This year, I introduced you to the many different varieties of the Pothos plants from the scindapsus, epipremnum, and philodendron species in my video 22 Pothos varieties video and how to tell them apart, as well as in my rare and common Pothos video, and of course in my ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Pothos Plants, wherein I described up to 50 different varieties of Pothos plants. But if you're new to pothos or in plants in general and you want to start your own pothos collection but don't know where to start, then this video is for you. But instead of just giving you a straight up list of the best pothos plants for beginners, we're gonna spice it up a little bit, just add some spice to it. I picked out my favorite pothos varieties plants and I'm going to pit them against each other, pick out which variety is best for pothos beginners. Let the games begin.
And may the odds be ever in your favor.
And starting with round 1, philodendron Brazil versus the golden pothos. When it comes to accessibility, these two pothos varieties is probably the most accessible and easiest to find. They are often and can be easily found in any garden center or nursery, especially for the golden pothos, because this is the pothos that most people know about and most people recognize even for non-plant people. The philodendron Brazil, however, caught my eye when I first started my plant journey because of its heart-shaped leaf and its lime green variegation. And when it comes to pothos varieties, this too is also the easiest to take care of, the fastest grower, and the easiest to propagate. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd say go with the golden pothos, because I feel that every plant parent, whether you're into pothos or not, should have the golden pothos. It's such a great beginner plant, and like I said, it's very easy to grow and very easy to propagate. While I can say the same for the philodendron Brazil, I actually used to have a very large pot of the philodendron Brazil, but I started to sell it or give them away and just left myself with this much philodendron Brazil because I don't like the way the philodendron Brazil look when it starts to vine really long. The vines get tangled up very easily and it just looks very untidy, very difficult to untangle, and I prefer the look of the golden pothos more. With the golden pothos, I feel it's more versatile and can look good any way you style it or any way you want to look, whether vining long like this or a bushier plant, or you put it on a pole and let it climb up. For round 2, it's the marble queen pothos versus the manjula pothos. So these two plants are often mistaken for each other because of its very similar variegation, but as I often tell people, the way you tell them apart is via the shape of the leaf. The manjula pothos have a much rounder spade-like shape of leaf, while the marble queen pothos has the same leaf shape as the golden pothos. The manjula pothos is considered the more rare variety of pothos between the two, and I'm personally biased against the manjula pothos. I love this plant, but the marble queen is what got me started with pothos. This is the first pothos plant that I ever got and I fell in love with, and the variegation of the marble queen pothos is undeniably beautiful. So between the marble queen and the manjula pothos, I would personally go with the manjula pothos if you can find it. And for round 2 is the neon pothos versus the philodendron lime. So as you can see, these two plants are very similar in appearance. Both are neon. The only thing that differs them is the shape of the leaf. The philodendron neon is basically a heartleaf philodendron that is neon in color, and the neon pothos is basically a jade pothos with a much brighter neon color leaf. And I had this for a lot longer, so this is a much bigger and fuller plant compared to this one. But if I have to choose between the two, I would go with the philodendron lime. And I choose the philodendron lime not because I don't like the neon pothos. I actually love it. But if I have to choose one philodendron to add to my pothos collection, it would be the philodendron lime. Not only the color is stunning, I do love the heart-shaped leaf, and kind of like with the neon pothos, it also produces a variegated neon leaf. So for round 2 with neon pothos versus the philodendron lime, I would definitely go with the philodendron lime. For round 4 of the Battle of the Pothos is the pearls and jade pothos versus the enjoy pothos. Well, actually this is the glacier pothos, but let's pretend that it is. So the glacier, the enjoy, and the pearls and jade pothos looks so similar with each other, so does it even really matter which one you get? Personally, probably not, because more often than not, when these are sold in any nursery or garden center, you can find 2 or even 3 of the varieties all in one pot because they tend to get mixed up together. But if I have to choose between the pearls and jade pothos and the enjoy pothos, I would definitely go with the enjoy pothos because the pearls and jade pothos is very pretty. But if I also have either the marble queen pothos or the manjula pothos already in my collection, the variegation pattern of the pearls and jade pothos looks very similar with the manjula and the marble queen pothos already. So to differentiate it a little bit, I would rather go with the enjoy pothos, which only has the solid white variegation and solid green variegation in its leaf, which makes it look a lot more different compared to the marble queen and the manjula pothos when it comes to its variegation. And for round number 5, it's the Battle of the Scindapsus. Scindapsus argyreus versus the Scindapsus exotica. For the Scindapsus argyreus, this is a clear favorite of mine. Like the manjula pothos, when it comes to scindapsuses, this is the one that I have multiples of. The scindapsus is a slower grower compared to the philodendron and epipremnum pothos, but as you can see with this scindapsus argyreus, this has grown really fast. I only got this earlier this year and it was barely trailing, and look at it now. So this one is a very fast grower. It's also the reason why I have multiples of it, because I've also propagated a lot from this and they grow into beautiful plants very quickly. And when it comes to the Scindapsus pictus exotica, at first I actually didn't like this plant. I didn't want to get this plant at all. I don't understand what's the hype about it. I didn't like the silver variegation. I thought it looked too weird. But when I decided to buy it and saw it in person, it's actually a lot more beautiful in person than it is in pictures. And I really like how large the leaves can get with the Scindapsus exotica compared to the argyreus, which can also get big, but for the most part, it's just a smaller leaf size plant. Exotica is a much slower grower than argyreus, but I found that the Scindapsus is a lot more easier to take care of than the argyreus. This one hasn't given me any problems either with root rot, with yellowing leaves, or with pests. While the argyreus, I have experienced a lot of yellowing on this plant for no reason at all. This is actually my second pot of Scindapsus argyreus. I got a similar size pot last year and it died out over the winter because it was just yellowing like crazy and I couldn't figure out what's wrong with it. It wasn't root rot, it wasn't pest, it wasn't anything at all. It wasn't my watering, but it just continued to yellow until the plant just eventually lost most of its leaves on its vines, and hence the reason I got a new pot. Now that we're transitioning into a much cooler season, I hope this one fares a little bit better than my first Scindapsus pictus argyreus. But this is such a fast grower that I could easily propagate the vines and come up with a whole new plant by next spring. And this one is also a lot easier to find in nurseries and garden centers compared to the exotica, and also a lot cheaper than the exotica. So in the battle of the Scindapsus pictus exotica versus the argyreus, I would definitely go with the Scindapsus pictus argyreus for how fast of a grower it is. And I do love the variegation pattern of the Scindapsus pictus argyreus, because especially during this time of year, it looks like tiny fairy lights or tiny Christmas lights. And for the final round, we have 2 varieties of pothos that are very much sought after right now, but for some reason they are still so hard to find, even though they are such fast growers and very easy to propagate. And for round 6, it's the philodendron mican versus the cebu blue pothos. So this too is probably the hardest round, hence I saved it for last. And like I said, these 2 varieties are quite hard to find, even though they are fast growers and very easy to propagate. And even if you find them online, they have sometimes very ridiculous prices, even for just cuttings, which is again crazy because they're very easy to grow and very easy to propagate. And this one is actually a propagation of my mother plant. When I propagated this early in the year, I probably just took a 3 vine cutting from the mother plant, and now it looks like this. And this philodendron mican, when I got this in mid-July, it probably only had 4 leaves, but look at it now, it's practically a full plant. And for the philodendron mican, what I love about it is the velvety suede texture of the leaf. And for the cebu blue pothos, I love the silver blue coloring of the leaves, and also the shape of the leaves is a lot more elongated and a lot more narrow compared to other epipremnum pothos. It's very hard to choose between these two, but I would definitely have to go with the cebu blue pothos. As a Filipino, I would have to wrap and choose the cebu blue pothos. But I have shared this with some of my fellow Filipino pothos lovers here in my area, because like me, they want to wrap the Philippines with the cebu blue pothos. And I found out from them that this is actually hard to find, and especially in the Philippines, which is crazy because this is native to the Philippines. The Epipremnum pinnatum tibatib is a lot more common in the Philippines compared to the cebu blue pothos, which is crazy to me because I've heard from a lot of people finding this at Walmart. I found mine at Lowe's, and I know some of the popular online shops also sell the cebu blue pothos here in the US, although not as readily available compared to other types of pothos. That's the battle of the pothos, and the winner for the best pothos plants for beginners. First one is the golden pothos. Next is the manjula pothos, and then the philodendron lime or the philodendron neon, the enjoy pothos, the scindapsus pectus argyreus, and last but not the least, the cebu blue pothos. So if you're looking to start your own pothos collection in 2021, these 6 pothos varieties are the best pothos plants for beginners. And if you want to learn more about different varieties of pothos plants, do check out my ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Pothos Plants, where I have up to 50 different varieties of pothos plants, as well as how to properly take care of your pothos plants and how to propagate them, and also troubleshoot some common problems with your pothos plants, which you could also apply to your other houseplants. The ebook is available on Amazon Kindle, and now for those who have requested, is also available in a PDF version in my Etsy shop, which is linked down below. And I'm also going to have a paperback version of The Ultimate Guide to Pothos. I wanted to release it before Christmas, but I didn't want to rush formatting it, so the paperback version will be available next year. And I will definitely share more information on the paperback version when it comes out next year. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you at day 7 of 12 Days of Plantmas. Bye!
So the camera can't capture how beautiful that sunset is. Plants over there. That's how they get their afternoon sun, from that west facing window over there.